mynews.studio.
Imagine taking a single pill that actually melts away aggressive leukemia. Both patients and doctors are starting to wonder, could this become routine?
Today is June 24th, 2025. Let's get into the basics first. Leukemia has always been a tough battle. Treatments like chemo, radiation, and stem cell transplants, they can help, but the side effects are harsh, and for aggressive or treatment-resistant cases, the options have been really limited.
Right, and that's what makes the breakthroughs we're seeing in 2025 so important. Across the globe, different research teams are taking new approaches. For example, the Pullican Lab at Versity Blood Research Institute just landed a major NIH grant. They're focusing on acute myeloid leukemia, AML, especially cases with a particular chromosome inversion, chromosome 16. Now, here's what stands out. They've identified a previously unknown pathway. It's called the NMYC/EIF4G1 pathway. This pathway helps cancer cells survive. So the key question is, what happens if you disrupt it? It's called the NMYC/EIF4G1 pathway. This pathway helps cancer cells survive. So the key question is, what happens if you disrupt it?
So if you can block that pathway, does it mean you could potentially kill the cancer cells without hurting healthy cells? Is that the main idea?
Exactly. The therapies they're working on target this specific mechanism, making the approach more precise and hopefully less toxic than conventional chemo. That could make a big difference for patients who can't handle standard treatments or whose cancer hasn't responded.
About that FDA approval, revumenib has just become the first really effective therapy for patients with the KMT2A translocation, right?
Yes, that's right. Historically, fewer than 10% of those patients ever achieved remission. Revumenib is a pill, no need for infusions, and it's showing much higher remission rates. It actually gives people a shot at a stem cell transplant, which can sometimes cure the disease. For patients who didn't have options before, this is a turning point. But what about those with chronic forms?
Chronic lymphocytic leukemia, or CLL, is another challenge, especially when it becomes resistant to the usual treatments. Over at the Christie NHS Foundation Trust in Manchester, they're testing a drug called NX-5948. What makes it different is that it doesn't just block a protein, it actually degrades it right inside the cancer cell. That's a new direction compared to previous drugs.
Yes, and the early trial results are encouraging. There are patients like Joe Murphy, who had no other treatments left, now seeing significant improvements and dealing with fewer side effects. So this isn't just about living longer. It's about feeling better while doing it.
On the topic of quality of life, it's worth mentioning the progress in pediatric leukemia. Seattle Children's Research Institute led a global trial where they added blinatumomab, a type of monoclonal antibody, to standard chemo for kids with B-cell acute lymphoblastic leukemia. The results? The risk of relapse fell by 61%, and 3-year disease-free survival jumped from 87% to 96%.
That's a big leap. We're seeing a real shift in how children with leukemia are treated. Still, with so much progress, are there challenges that remain?
Definitely. Access and affordability are major barriers, especially in lower-income countries. The cost of developing these treatments, the need for specialized testing, and even regulatory hurdles all come into play. There's a growing push for international collaboration, but not everyone is benefiting equally yet.
Another ongoing issue is resistance and relapse. Even with new drugs, cancer cells can adapt. Researchers are starting to combine therapies and use advanced monitoring, like tracking minimal residual disease, to catch resistance early and adjust treatment in real time.
So for someone diagnosed with leukemia today, how different is their experience compared to a patient 10 years ago?
For many, it's a world of difference. Targeted therapies mean fewer side effects, and people can often keep up with their daily routines during treatment. The main takeaway is that these advances are turning leukemia from a life sentence into something that's potentially manageable or even curable for a lot more patients.
So big steps forward, but still a way to go. Do you think we're seeing the start of a new era in cancer care?
It really does seem that way. These aren't just isolated successes. They're the result of global effort, increased funding, and persistent research. The trend is clear: more hope, more choices, and better results for patients.
Today, we looked at how a few key scientific advances are changing leukemia care. More targeted drugs, fewer side effects, and stronger survival rates. The fight continues, but the landscape is evolving quickly.
Thank you for joining us as we dug into how targeted therapies, new medications, and worldwide collaboration are shaping the future for people with leukemia.
Thanks for listening. This episode was brought to you by mynews.studio. You can try it now for free.